question from the lady near me was to maybe I could describe my position on torture. Other than Dianne Feinstein, who was the chair of the committee and who led the torture report, there was no person in the United States Senate who worked harder to expose the torture program, to stop the torture program, to dig into the phony, baloney Office of Legal Counsel opinions at the Department of Justice that had not been properly vetted and that gave the green light to this program. It makes me ill to think that our country did these things. And we changed the law so that it can never happen again with Senator McCain, and he and I are not going to budge on that. Senator Feinstein's not going to budge on that. Senator Reed's not going to budge on that. We are done with that episode in our history. And there's still a lawsuit against those two contractors who led the program, and so let's see how that turns out, because there has not been, in my view, justice done yet.
Do you think
Pompeo tortures will be back? The administration. When Pompeo tortures, we'll be back.
Years ago, guys.
What are we going to do?
What's your stance on this with the Martian?
Senator's not the
At this point, the question was about other cabinet appointments. I've announced my opposition to Senator Sessions. I've announced my opposition to Sessions' vote.
Yes, the vote goes that way.
I'm anticipating that there'll be no votes really pretty much across the board in the domestic policy position.
What about Tillerson? He's not loyal to America. He's
I'm leading the charge as best I can on this character Pruitt, who they're trying to put in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency. Just so you know, this is a guy who has 3,000 emails between himself as Attorney General of Oklahoma and the big fossil fuel companies. 3,000. And there is an open records request for those emails in his office that they've been sitting on for nearly 750 days. Out of 3,000 emails between him and the fossil fuel companies, they have produced exactly 0 of them. It was not too long ago that the Republicans had a very keen interest in emails, but when it's with fossil fuel companies, suddenly they're not so interested anymore. So I think what we're seeing here in a lot of ways is an effort to bring people in who have huge conflicts of interest, who represent the exact interests that the organizations were set up to defend against, and that we need to be really determined about not only doing our best to oppose those domestic nominees, but also to make sure that we continue the investigation into their conflicts of interest. They're trying to speedball them through the Senate without adequate disclosure. The Republicans are at this point holding firm, and they control the schedule. But as the pressure builds, I think it gets harder and harder for them. How do you justify not disclosing any of 3,000 emails?
Or releasing
Really? Is that what you want to stand for? So, on we go.